The Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by CNMC, Syngenta Canada, and the Alberta Wheat Commission.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and here now with Dr. Roger Sylvester Bradley from the UK as well. We're still at the Southwest Ag Conference. This is the man who wrote the book on wheat production. So Roger, it's awesome. We brought you here to talk about making wheat work.
Yeah.
And we all expected a recipe.
Yeah,
and you didn't bring us a recipe. So tell me what's going on with wheat production.
Well, that's what we like to know, Pete. but we are blessed with a much better climate for wheat production in the UK. So
don't tell them that, because I want them to beat you guys in yield. You can't. But anyway, fair enough. It is much better.
We think you may easily already be beating us at the percentage of the potential, the biophysical potential. But so the biophysical, if you watch the video from Ruth, then you'll know about biophysical potential. It's set by the amount of solar radiation that you get, and you probably get more than that, more than we do, but it's also set by the amount of water that you have available for the crop, and you have a lot more evaporation than we do.
Yes.
So, and it's cold in the wintertime here, whereas,
So, but in terms of trying to drive wheat yields higher, like how are we going to do that? What's your thought process? Are there management potentials? Where do we go?
Yeah, well, wheat is an energy conversion process, but we don't measure the energy. If we don't measure our inputs, how do we know how well we're doing? We've analyzed all the variation in yield in the UK. We have yields varying, and I'm going to put it in kindly in your bushels. So 50 right up to, we have yields of 50 tons per hectare, but we have yields of 250 tons per hectare of wheat. So
bushels per acre.
But sorry.
Yes.
What did I say?
Per acre. Yes. Tons per hectare. Yeah, it's okay. So 50 to 250 bushels per acre.
Bushels per acre. Yeah. And that just proves straight away that there's masses of room for improvement. But for 20 years, we haven't seen improvement. So we've analyzed the data, and we've found there's a big farm or farmer factor. And so with doing our little plots, we've been advising on little improvements, but they're irrelevant if a farmer hasn't managed to work out how to capture enough water. So we're moving the research into a joint operation with the farmers through this yield enhancement network. And the yield enhancement network gives the farmers the knowledge, all those measurements that Ruth Wade in her videos talked about, are useful to the farmer to work out what's limiting my crop. And then we are going to farm-centric research, so the farm takes the measurements, has the ideas, works out what to improve, whether I've got to improve the lifetime of my canopy, or whether I've got to improve the depth of my roots. So, and when that idea is gelled for the farm, then it's all has to be in the mind of the farmer. You're not following a recipe. We've thrown the recipe book away, and we're saying let's work out on each farm and ideally on each field how best to trap that energy and capture enough water.
Yeah. So that's really, I mean, you're talking about things that we don't really think much about. So, canopy, we don't really think much about canopy, but I mean, if you don't capture the sunlight, baby, you're all done. And water, we don't think about rooting depth, but we are much wetter, so we don't really think that water is nearly as big a concern unless we go to Western Canada, and then it's totally driven by water.
Okay.
But this is a really interesting kind of different way to look at things. So now the farmers are kind of setting the bar for where that research goes and what you're learning, as opposed to the small plot that we've relied on for ages.
The best farmers out-yield the researchers. Always.
Darn it. So no wonder I'm such a poor farmer. My neighbors always beat me for yield because they're just better at being farmers than I should just stay being a researcher. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Not really. So does the same farmer, Ruth talked about the same farmer always winning? Does that same farmer always win this competition, or can somebody else come in there?
Indeed. He's entered it 5 times, but this last year, his neighbor beat him. So we've got this learning process going on, and what we're trying to form is these nice farmer groups. So when local farmer groups all identify they've got the same limitation and what the best idea is to solve that limit, then they can all work together on testing different ideas. So we form these farmer innovation groups, and they work together doing experiments, just test trials on their land, and we can help them do those trials.
Awesome. So I love this. It's good and it's bad. What you're saying is there's hope for Johnson yet. Wheat Pete may yet beat his neighbors for yield. If I learn from them enough, I might be able to beat them. But the other thing, as an agronomist, you're saying, but Johnson, you go out there, you're telling these guys to put on more nitrogen, to use fungicide. That's probably maybe not quite the route you need to go, and that's my bread and butter. So I'm not sure whether I love it or hate it, Roger.
Well, we actually think this is changing the way that an agronomist should work, so that the agronomists have to admit the things they're uncertain about. They know the things they're certain about, and that's fine, and you can put that in the recipe, but the things you're uncertain about are probably the things you could do a bit of work on and testing on the farm.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. I love this idea. I love where we can go with this, and I love the fact that, it's the farmers that have to make it work, so now they're part of the process, and now they own it, and so if you own it, then you do it, as opposed to me saying do this, and then it's kind of, No, really cool. Thanks so much, Roger. Really great to have you here in Canada.
Yes,
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and for goodness sakes, we're going to change the way we do it, and we are going to grow great wheat.